On a quiet rooftop in Medellín, the world's most feared drug lord took his final breath, but the question that haunted the DEA was never how Pablo Escobar died, it was how he managed to stay invisible for so long. For years, he ruled an empire built on fear, power, and unimaginable wealth, orchestrating violence that shook a nation while evading the world's most sophisticated manhunt. He moved through shadows, trusted only a handful, and always stayed one step ahead, yet in the end, a single phone call would betray him. Who actually pulled the trigger on Pablo Escobar? Why did he walk into his own trap after years of eluding capture? And how did the Medellín Cartel rise to become the richest and deadliest criminal organization the world had ever seen? Tonight, we go inside that empire, we follow the hunt, and we uncover the secrets the world was never meant to see. Stay with us until the end, because the story of Pablo Escobar is not just a tale of crime, it is a story of obsession, betrayal, and the deadly price of power. Hit subscribe, because what you are about to hear is the full truth, revealed for the first time. In the 1950s and 1960s, Colombia was a country fractured by political instability, violent insurgencies, and deep poverty, where the promise of prosperity was reserved for a select few while most struggled to survive. Once a modest industrial town, was rapidly transforming into a bustling urban center, a city that would become the perfect breeding ground for ambition, crime, and power. At the same time, across the border in the United States, the demand for cocaine was growing explosively in cities like Miami, New York, and Los Angeles, setting the stage for a new kind of criminal enterprise that would change the world. Within this environment, a young Pablo Escobar emerged from humble beginnings in Rionegro and Medellín, the son of a poor but determined family, who quickly discovered that charm, cunning, and audacity could open doors that money alone could not. Even as a teenager, he ran scams involving fake diplomas, contraband cigarettes, and stolen cars, testing the boundaries of the law and learning the value of risk, while his first arrests and bribes marked the start of a reputation that would only grow larger with time. By the early 1970s, cocaine had begun to flow through Colombia, with hidden labs deep in jungle zones producing the product that would become the lifeblood of Escobar's empire, and it was here that he connected with the influential Ochoa family, the Gotcha network, and the radical Carlos Letter, forming partnerships that would solidify his future dominance. These alliances laid the foundation for a criminal machine that combined ruthless violence with careful organization, financial genius, and political manipulation, ensuring that Escobar was not merely a smuggler but a figure capable of reshaping his nation. Escobar's first smuggling mission stretched from Peru through Colombia to the United States, demonstrating a logistical brilliance that few could match, as planes, hidden airstrips, and clandestine routes became arteries for an ever-growing flow of cocaine. His strategy was simple but terrifying: plata o plomo, silver or lead, a philosophy that forced compliance through either bribes or bullets, a stark choice that created a culture of fear and absolute obedience. Unlike other traffickers who sought only profit, Escobar sought power and legitimacy, envisioning a life where he would not only control wealth but also influence politics, society, and the future of Colombia itself. This ambition was matched by a calculated generosity. He invested in building housing for the poor, soccer fields for children, and public amenities that won him the loyalty of neighborhoods that otherwise would have rejected a criminal kingpin. This duality of terror and benevolence transformed him into a Robin Hood figure for many, making him both feared and admired in equal measure, a paradox that would define his rise. The Medellín Cartel itself became an institution, a meticulously structured syndicate where each key player brought unique expertise to the table. The Ochoa brothers managed the finances with a precision that turned street profits into international power, while Gotcha brought military acumen and ruthless enforcement to every corner of the enterprise. Carlos Letter, meanwhile, was the ideological architect, embedding political radicalism into the cartel's operations and building airstrips that allowed cocaine to flow uninterrupted to the United States, creating a global network few could penetrate. Together, these figures forged a criminal empire that was both sophisticated and brutally effective, capable of bending governments, law enforcement, and entire cities to their will. Escobar's vision extended beyond mere wealth. He sought permanence, a legacy that would endure beyond his lifetime. He meticulously cultivated relationships with politicians, law enforcement, and influential citizens, all while orchestrating violent campaigns against rivals and those who dared challenge him. His ability to blend philanthropy with intimidation allowed him to dominate Medellín socially, economically, and politically, creating a society where obedience was rewarded, defiance punished, and loyalty became currency more valuable than gold. By the late 1970s, the stage was set for the rise of a figure who would become both a global symbol of criminal ingenuity and the most feared man in Colombia. The Medellín Cartel, under Escobar's leadership, had transformed from a regional operation into an international powerhouse, with the capacity to manipulate markets, governments, and public perception alike. The foundations of his empire, alliances, smuggling routes, financial networks, and social influence, were firmly in place, and the world was only beginning to grasp the scope of what was to come. Every move, every decision, and every act of calculated generosity or brutality was a step toward a destiny that would ultimately challenge the power of nations and the limits of human ambition. By the early 1980s, the Medellín Cartel controlled more than 80% of the U.S. cocaine market, generating profits estimated at $420 million per week, and Escobar's operations had grown into a fully integrated network of planes, submarines, jungle labs, and ruthless hit squads. The scale of the enterprise was staggering, and with it came the audacity to enter politics. In 1982, Escobar secured a seat in the Colombian Congress, not just to protect his empire but to pursue a dream of legitimate power and, ultimately, the presidency. Yet his political ambitions quickly collided with reality when Justice Minister Rodrigo Lara Bonilla exposed his ties to murder and drug trafficking, making him the target of relentless media scrutiny and government investigation. The murder of Lara Bonilla marked a turning point that would define Colombia's modern history, forcing the government into an open war against Escobar and drawing the full attention of the DEA, who deployed entire teams to dismantle his operations. With the threat of extradition looming over him, Escobar embarked on a 7-year campaign of terror designed to prevent his transfer to the United States, launching attacks on newspaper offices, assassinating judges, orchestrating kidnappings, and bombing commercial airlines and government buildings. Every violent act was a calculated message. Anyone who supported extradition would pay the ultimate price, and the country itself became a battlefield, leaving Colombians questioning how long a single man could hold an entire nation hostage. Amid the chaos, Escobar created a parallel narco state, bribing police officers, judges, airport officials, and politicians to secure impunity, while towns and entire neighborhoods feared him more than the government itself. This climate of terror was reinforced by the formation of the Search Bloc, an elite Colombian unit trained and equipped by the DEA, tasked with capturing Escobar alive. Yet internal conflicts complicated the hunt. The Colombian government demanded results, the DEA insisted on capturing him for extradition, and some politicians engaged in secret negotiations with cartels, revealing a tangled web of loyalties and betrayals that made the pursuit as dangerous as the man they were chasing. Escobar's contradictions became starkly apparent during this period. He funded hospitals, schools, and soccer fields for the poor while simultaneously bombing entire buildings and ordering the execution of hundreds, blending acts of calculated terror with gestures of social benevolence that kept public perception divided. His campaign of kidnappings intensified, targeting relatives of high-ranking officials to force negotiation through fear, a tactic that exposed both his ingenuity and his ruthlessness. Yet in every calculated move, Escobar realized the government would concede almost everything, except the one thing he desired most, freedom, a truth that tightened the noose around his operations and foreshadowed the unraveling of his empire. As the 1980s progressed, the Medellín Cartel faced mounting pressure from both the Search Bloc and rival factions, but Escobar's strategic use of terror, bribery, and propaganda allowed him to maintain dominance. High-stakes negotiations, betrayals within the cartels, and constant pursuit by the DEA created an atmosphere of uncertainty, where every move could lead to capture or death. By the end of this period, the stage was set for an ultimate showdown. Escobar's empire was vast and violent, yet cracks were forming in the foundation, foreshadowing a series of events that would challenge his supremacy, test loyalties, and set the world on the brink of witnessing the fall of Colombia's most notorious criminal mastermind. By 1991, Escobar realized that open confrontation with the government was unsustainable, and he made the calculated decision to surrender, but on his terms. He demanded and received permission to build La Catedral, a prison of his own design, a fortress with a jacuzzi, bar, soccer field, and nightclub where cartel meetings continued under his direct control. Within those walls, He maintained communication with his network, oversaw finances, and ordered hits on rivals, demonstrating that even incarceration could not contain his ambition or his reach, and the DEA watched in disbelief as the Colombian government allowed a criminal kingpin to live in luxury. Inside La Catedral, the illusion of control quickly became clear. Escobar was free to run the cartel while appearing imprisoned, and the government's humiliation was complete. The authorities soon realized that their surrender agreement had created a sanctuary rather than a prison, and Escobar's confidence only grew as he expanded his influence, using the facility to maintain discipline within his organization and to continue planning operations against rivals and the state alike. His prison became a hub of corruption, where bribed guards and secret weapons ensured that the empire remained operational, proving that conventional law enforcement could not penetrate his fortress without significant risk. In 1992, the government attempted to transfer him to a standard facility, but Escobar had anticipated this move and executed a meticulously planned escape through tunnels he had prepared in advance, marking a point of no return. He became a fugitive again, but this time the pursuit was more focused, more lethal, and more desperate. To counter his remaining influence, Los Pepes, a vigilante group secretly backed by enemies and possibly elements of the government, launched a campaign of retaliation that targeted his lawyers, accountants, cousins, and lieutenants, systematically dismantling the infrastructure that had protected him for so long. The cartel began to crumble as the Ochoa brothers surrendered, Carlos Letter was captured, and Gotcha was killed, leaving Escobar with only a handful of loyal men. Safe houses were raided relentlessly, communications monitored, and every decision he made came under scrutiny, while the DEA brought in advanced technology to track his movements. Escobar's one weakness remained: his calls to his family, particularly to his son, which the DEA exploited with triangulation equipment, narrowing down his location to within a few blocks, yet he remained elusive, a ghost slipping through the tightening noose, forcing the searchers to chase shadows in the urban maze. Informants within Medellin's comunas began feeding intelligence, and Los Pepes intensified pressure on neighborhoods still loyal to Escobar, allowing the search block to strike repeatedly. The empire that had seemed unassailable now showed signs of collapse, as betrayals and relentless pursuit closed in from all sides. In the end, Escobar had fewer than 48 hours before the forces arrayed against him would converge for the final confrontation, and the stage was set for the ultimate showdown, where his genius, terror, and ambition would meet the coordinated resolve of the law and his enemies, bringing decades of chaos to a climactic turning point. December 2, 1993, marked the final chapter in Pablo Escobar's violent saga, as the fugitive kingpin made one last call to his young son, a brief connection that would seal his fate. For 6 tense minutes, his voice carried through the phone, unknowingly providing the search block and DEA with the critical signal they needed to triangulate his location to a modest house in Los Olivos. Every agent knew the importance of this moment. Years of pursuit, thousands of lives lost, and a nation's fear came down to the coordinates of a single phone call, the last thread connecting Escobar to the world outside his hiding. The final raid was swift but relentless, as elite search block units surrounded the house, cutting off all possible escape routes and coordinating their advance with precision. Escobar, aware of the tightening net, fled to the rooftop with his loyal bodyguard, El Limon, a desperate bid to evade capture. The ensuing firefight was brutal but brief. Shots tore through the rooftop and walls, hitting Escobar in the leg, the torso, and finally delivering a fatal shot near his ear, ending the life of the man who had terrorized an entire country for over a decade. With Escobar dead, the Medellín Cartel's centralized power crumbled instantly, leaving behind a fragmented network vulnerable to law enforcement and rival factions. The Cali Cartel briefly filled the vacuum, but the coordinated pressure from Colombian authorities and DEA ensured they would never reach the same scale of dominance. Colombia, while far from fully stable, regained a measure of control and normalcy, and the lessons learned from the hunt for Escobar fundamentally shifted DEA operations and international approaches to organized crime, embedding tactical intelligence, triangulation, and persistent surveillance into standard anti-narcotics procedures. The emotional and social impact of Escobar's death was profound and lasting. Medellin's residents were split between mourning a figure they considered a benefactor and celebrating the end of his reign of terror. Families who had lost loved ones reflected on the trauma and injustice inflicted upon them, while Escobar's own family fled the country, seeking safety in exile, leaving behind neighborhoods like Comuna 13, still scarred by cartel influence. The legend of Escobar, amplified by Hollywood, television, and documentaries, ensured that his life, crimes, and mythos would persist long after his physical presence had ended, a paradoxical legacy of fear, power, and fascination. Yet even in death, questions lingered. Some wondered whether the CIA had cooperated with Los Pepes behind the scenes, while others debated who truly controlled the search block and whether internal betrayal hastened Escobar's downfall. The final phone call remained a mystery in its symbolism. Was it a simple act of paternal love or a calculated misstep that ended the empire he had built? These unanswered questions, alongside the enduring scars on Colombia and its people, ensured that Escobar's story remained unfinished in the public imagination, a cautionary tale of ambition, violence, and the fleeting nature of power. After the fall of Pablo Escobar, the story does not simply end with a name in the history books. It leaves a lingering question of morality, power, and the price of ambition. Millions of Colombians, from the bustling streets of Medellín to the slums of Comuna 13, lived in the shadow of a man who combined generosity with terror, creating an impossible duality that still sparks debate today. People ask themselves, could one man's vision, however violent, ever justify the fear, the chaos, and the lives lost in his pursuit of power? The unanswered questions surrounding Escobar's demise continue to intrigue scholars, journalists, and crime enthusiasts alike. Was the CIA secretly coordinating with Los Pepes to bring him down faster than official channels could manage? Did some within the search block act independently, motivated by vengeance or financial reward, rather than duty? And perhaps most hauntingly, why did Escobar make that final phone call to his son, fully aware that every move he made could betray his location? These uncertainties fuel the narrative that Escobar was not only a criminal but also a symbol of larger systemic failures, corruption, and the extremes of human ambition. For the families affected by Escobar's empire, the aftermath was deeply personal. Many mourned loved ones taken by violence, while others found relief in his death, yet none could fully escape the trauma inflicted over decades. The Medellín residents who once cheered him as a benefactor were now left to reconcile with the cost of their complicity, forced to navigate neighborhoods scarred by cartel violence and to rebuild communities under a fragile peace that would never erase memory. The social fabric had been stretched and tested, leaving Colombia a nation learning to heal while watching as global fascination transformed Escobar into a legend, mythologized in television series, films, and documentaries that often glamorized the very chaos he created. The story of Escobar also sparked broader reflections on law enforcement and international cooperation. The DEA's involvement, the creation of the search block, and the unconventional methods used to finally locate him became lessons for future operations against organized crime. Governments and law enforcement agencies worldwide examined the balance between negotiation, enforcement, and intelligence, understanding that figures like Escobar thrive in the shadows between fear, loyalty, and opportunity. These lessons continue to shape modern anti-narcotic strategies, revealing that the battle against crime is never simply a matter of force but of understanding human behavior, networks, and the moral compromises that define the fight. Finally, the narrative ends not with absolute answers, but with a call to reflection and engagement. After everything seen in Escobar's story, one truth is undeniable. He was both loved and feared, a man whose final act, a single phone call to his son, symbolized both paternal love and the final unraveling of an empire. Viewers are asked to confront their own judgments. Do they believe Escobar was killed, or did he take his own life? Could Los Pepes have been the true decisive force, and should the Colombian government have ever accepted his negotiated surrender? Commenting below, sharing theories, subscribing for deeper investigative content, and discussing these questions ensures that the story remains alive, challenging the audience to grapple with the legacy of a man whose life and death continue to fascinate the world. As Escobar himself once reflected, "I am not rich. I am poor, a poor man with money," a line that reminds us of the paradox at the heart of his legend and the cautionary tale of ambition unchecked.